I love the smell of new displays in the morning. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. We got all the devices in hand this week. Jason and I are going to talk about the MacBook Neo. I'm staring right now at my Studio Display XDR, plus the 17E, and a ton of other news, like Grammarly using AI to clone experts, Anthropic sues the Department of Defense. We finally got new Sonos speakers. Meta acquires Multibook for some reason, and a Live Nation, and a ton more. This episode is brought to you by Framer and Clean My Mac, and of course, all of you, the members who support us directly. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Robles, staring at my beautiful new display, along with my friend Jason Aiton. How's it going, Jason?
It's good. I have a new display in front of me too. It's not quite as nice as yours.
Well, we're gonna talk about.
I paid
that.
a lot less for it. Let's just be honest.
Well, yes, you did pay a lot less, and I did adjust the movie quote at the beginning of the episode, but I thought you would get it anyways.
I think it's from Pixel Apocalypse Now.
That's thank you. Yes, it is that. I love the smell of napalm in the morning is the original. You know what I don't love is the smell of no reviews. I don't know what's happening, Jason, but we've had a drought of 5-star reviews in Apple Podcasts. And so listeners, I know you're out there. If everyone who listens to the show on Apple Podcasts left us a 5-star review, we would have literally thousands of 5-star reviews. So if you haven't yet, we would really appreciate a 5-star rating and review. You could tell which one, Studio Display or Studio Display XDR. Or no, actually, nano texture versus glossy, because we are going to get into that. Are you staring at a nano texture screen or glossy?
I'm staring at a nano texture screen, and it is amazing.
See, I'm staring at a glossy screen, and I'm afraid I've maybe made a regret for my entire life. But anyway, we're gonna get to that. We got to talk about the displays. I do have some follow up. We have a couple pictures. Our listeners and viewers keep telling us where they're listening, and a follow up from Scott. We mentioned his Ram mount, and Ram, not the truck Ram. This is not Dodge Ram. This is apparently Ram Mounts is a whole company that makes like really heavy duty. Like, if you ever see somebody's laptop like welded into their dash or whatever,
like a police car where they have like the laptop sitting there. Yeah,
they make this kind of stuff. But he sent us a side view of his iPhone mount from the car, and so this is what it looks like. I want to know how secure this. I think that thing is screwed. It
has screws, at least 5 of them.
It has like screwed into his dash. Very long arm, but I assume very sturdy. I mean, if he's driving around and hitting bumps and that thing's not falling off, that thing's got to be solid.
Although it does kind of look like the cable going into that is very thinly connected.
I am concerned about the charging speed. Oh, I think that's just a MagSafe puck inside the. I don't think the mount doesn't have the thing in. Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sending that. That's how he consumes primary tech. And then also, this was honestly a little envy-inducing. Craig sent us an email with a picture of where he listens to Primary Technology. And this is walking the Hollywood Hills of Northern Ireland. And I don't know, this seems like a wonderful way to consume Primary Technology with the water in the distance. Like, this is very nice. That's very nice. So thank you for sending that. Keep sending those in, or you can leave us a 5-star rating and review and let us know where you listen. Are we a dishwashing podcast? Are we a laundry folding podcast? Where do you live? Are
you sitting and waiting for someone to get done with soccer practice podcast?
Okay, there it is. Yeah, I mean, I used to have a hour-long commute each way for 10 years, and I was able to listen to so many podcasts, and I still listen to a lot of podcasts, but I do have to pick and choose a little more because I can't listen to podcasts and edit a video at the same time.
Well, right.
Where's
the part where he said that? I can't find it anymore. It's like, hold on.
If I had a superpower, it would be to listen to podcasts while editing videos.
It would be amazing because our podcast would be interspersed with quotes from Mike Hurley and John Siracusa and
John Roderick and Merlin Mann.
Yeah,
a lot.
Jason Bateman. All these people, they'd have guest appearances.
Well, so that's, that would be curious. Do you have a podcast that you make sure to listen to every single episode every week?
We did talk about this.
I feel like we have. I don't know if we talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it online though. Like, this is on the record into a microphone that's being recorded.
That I listen to every single week. Hang on, I have to look because I want to be with Dithering. I listen to every Dithering episode
because the 15 minutes it's an easy
consume. That is true. However, I enjoy listening to Ben Thompson and John Gruber. So even if it was longer, that would be the one for sure. I also listen to probably every episode of Sharp Tech, which is one of Ben Thompson's other podcasts that he does with Andrew Sharp. Looking at this list, those are probably the only 2 that I listen to every single episode of, but I do listen to most episodes of Upgrade Connected, the talk show, and the 9 to 5 Mac Happy Hour. I enjoy listening to those guys.
Yeah, Chance Miller.
Zach Hall's back on right now because he's filling in. So that's kind of fun. I think he started that podcast.
He did, yeah.
He's
exactly.
back on it. I will say that I typically in a week have to make sure I've gotten through my entire queue before Thursday, because that's when ATP drops, and the rest of my weekend is basically if I'm going to make it through an ATP episode, it's going to be consumed.
ATP is one of the few that I listen to every week, but I will admit I don't listen to every chapter. Sometimes there'll be a chapter I skip, or if like the main topic of the episode is something that just not immediately I'm ready for or whatever, like I might skip that chapter, but I jump around. I'm thankful they do the chapters. The one I listen to every week is I don't know if I've said this online. I can't recommend people try it because it's not a podcast that you jump into. And it is not like, it would be so random. Most people probably would not enjoy it and think it's weird. So I would not do it. But I listen to Roderick on the Line every single week. I've listened to every episode from the very beginning. I don't know. It's something about the chemistry between Merlin Mann and John Roderick. I really enjoy that. So I don't suggest you go and listen to it, but I do, and I don't think they would either.
Ringing. Let me ask you a different question related to that.
Yeah.
Okay. I have this weird thing where I can remember what I was doing when I've listened to just about any podcast episode. So if you tell me hey, do you remember when the ATP guys were talking about Seltzer and Marco? Whatever. I mean, I can remember I was mowing my front lawn like that. I just remember these things. Like this weird connection point there. Yeah. Some people see colors when they hear music notes. I can remember literally what I was doing when I heard everything. That's why I think that's why I can remember so many movie quotes, because when you say them, I remember the experience of watching, and then I'm like, well, where was I? Who was with me? So what movie was that? Anyway, when you listen to a podcast so let's say you started listening to the talk show today. Would you go back and want to listen to every single episode, or would you just move forward? Because especially some of these shows that are long, I've never gone back to listen to a single one.
No, I don't go back to the beginning. So I can't say I've listened to every episode of ATP because I didn't come in at the beginning. Same thing with the talk show. Roderick on the Land's the only one I could say that for. I did. So when I discovered Smartless like 30 episodes in, and I did go back and listen to all the early episodes. But that is a show now where I will pick and choose. If it's not a guest that I am personally interested in, I will skip the episode. Shows like that that I also will skip around is Work Life or Rethinking with Adam Grant. I'll listen to sporadic episodes of that. I will listen to most Decoders, not all. There's only so many car CEOs I want to, hear interviews of. Omnibus, also with John Roderick, formerly with Ken Jennings, but Ken Jennings is not the regular co-host anymore. So I don't.
He's doing a thing called Jeopardy right now.
He's doing the called. Did you see Jason Snell's going to be on Jeopardy? Jason Snell of Upgrade is going to be on Jeopardy. That's amazing.
Also, he's now of the Wall Street Journal. He wrote the book review for.
That is right. That is right. I do listen to every Cortex, and had listened to every Cortex with CGP Grey and Mike. And now those are like once a month. So it's like, I listen to those. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The only show I've listened to that I went back to listen to every episode of was The West Wing Weekly, which, by the way, one of the very best podcasts of all time. It's probably way more interesting if you've watched The West Wing. But the point is, if you've watched The West Wing, it's not a timely show, right? It is so you're like, I found out about it at when they were in season 3, I'm like, oh, I'm going back and I'm listening to it. And I've listened to that used to be my airplane podcast. I would just download 3 episodes on a flight, just listen to it and go. So
yeah. I will say I do listen to Talk Show with John Gruber. Sometimes I will skip around the chapters because, again, they're very long episodes. But I do listen to every episode of Dear Hank and John now. I didn't go back to the beginning, but I do listen to every one of those. I've been listening to Version History and enjoying that. And every Friday Vergecast. I listen to every Friday Vergecast, but not all the other ones. And then last one I'll mention a sporadic listen, but one I really enjoy is Creator Science with Jay Klaus. When he has a guest or he does a topic that's really about creator economy and stuff that he's doing as a creator, I'll listen to that. So anyway, this has been Podcast Rex from Prime.
I did start listening to every episode of Mac Power Users about 2 weeks ago.
Thank you very much. It probably goes without saying, I do listen to my own shows, Primary Technology and Mac Power Users.
I don't listen to this show very often afterward.
I do it mostly because I do all the editing myself for Primary Technology. I'm always like, and I don't granularly edit this show because I just don't have the time. And so I do go back and listen because every Thursday I drive to my mom's house for dinner. we eat there. And so on the drive, I'll listen to the episode because I'm like, did I miss anything? Is there anything glaring that's like something bad? And so that I will listen to most of the primary technology, but I was here for it. You know, we're literally
exactly. I've listened to it once when it came out of my mouth.
Live. We listened to the live show.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some new Apple products because I got a MacBook Neo here. I have a Studio Display XDR, and you have all the things except an XDR.
Correct.
I think.
Well, I don't have a MacBook Pro yet. I believe I will be reviewing one.
Well, we'll mention those, but let's talk about the things we actually have in hand. You had a great review of the MacBook Neo, which will be a link both in Apple Podcasts as a timed link and in the show notes. Beautiful photography, Jason.
Thank you very much. I told you in a text message, that's the only part I care about. You can disagree with my recommendation. I just care about the photos.
Jason was a photographer in a former life. If you're a regular listener, you already know that. But the header image was one of my favorites, especially. But they sent you the silver one.
Yeah, they did. They keep sending me blue MacBook Airs, and then they sent me so I was really interested, like, what are they going to send me? Maybe because the silver one photographs the best. I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's true.
I have the blue indigo, which I bought, and so I just got it yesterday. So I can't really review it per se. The only things that I will mention is it feels very rounded, even compared to the MacBook Air, which is nice. Like all the corners, it feels a little less sharp.
It's a little more chamfered on the top. Is that even the right word?
That is I think so. It's very chamfered. It's very chamfered.
Whereas the MacBook Air has rounded corners, but it is a like 90-degree angle at the top where the top meets the side. Yes. Whereas the MacBook Neo is not.
And then also the feet of the MacBook Neo are very round as opposed to the Pros and the Air, where there's like a hard, almost like cylindrical nub. The MacBook Neo has this like very round. Anyway, it feels like a very consumer friendly, not like in an underpowered way, but we'll get into that, but very like approachable computer. Like this is, I think, for students or for kids. Like this is like, you know, it's very like round and soft and it's fun. You know, Apple's been doing a lot of marketing that's like fun around it, and the color behind the keys. So you have the white keys, but actually with the color of the computer in the back. And I really like the indigo. I wish Apple made a MacBook Air in this blue, because the only blue that the MacBook Air comes in, the basically silver. But anyway,
they don't have the midnight one anymore.
They do have the midnight one,
which is blue, technically.
Maybe that's closer to the indigo, because the sky blue is not really blue. But
yeah, no, it's not. I have one of those. I mean, it does look blue next to the silver MacBook Neo, but if I take that away, it does not look blue at all.
Correct. But you've actually been using it. So tell me, I mean, we'll link your review, but how's been using it?
Well, so a couple things. One, it's exactly the same weight as the MacBook Air, but I feel like it actually feels more compact. Like it doesn't feel lighter, but it does feel easier to pick up and hold and move around, because it is just a little bit. It is actually more smaller than you think.
So this is the footprint. If you're watching the MacBook Air 13-inch underneath the MacBook Neo, and you could see it is a smaller footprint, but it is slightly thicker.
But I think it feels a little bit more compact, and it just feels a little easier. I want to say, I'll go back for a second. Easily the MacBook Neo, most controversial Apple product I've ever reviewed. And it is completely mind-bogglingly insane. I feel like I have become the truth teller on Threads about the MacBook Neo, because
I think you're just fishing for trolls. I thought that's what
I'm not fishing for anything.
Okay.
Listen, I'm trying to grow my Threads following, so I feel like maybe I should practice more.
Okay.
I should spend more time feeding the algorithm with.
Stop hate quoting people and tell you.
I don't hate quote anyone. I just
not hate quote.
I correct quote.
Correct quote. Correct quote.
No, and mostly because I think many of the people that I have engaged with on Threads were just well-meaningly uninformed, which is fair. Like that's and so it's like, hey, by the way, this is actually like,
and nobody had the device until yesterday, so all the opinions were speculation.
But there's so many people who like post things like, I've been using a Windows computer for a really long time. Do you think the MacBook Neo would be for me? I'm like, that's literally the point. It exists for you. The people who are posting, I've been using the M4 Pro MacBook Pro for 2 years, and I was really thinking of upgrading to the MacBook Neo. Do you think it'll be able to handle After Effects? I'm like, what is wrong with you?
But that's people just rage baiting. Like, and listen, anytime I go to the For You feed on Threads, it's all rage bait and engagement bait. You have to stick to the following feed, otherwise you just get angry and you want to reply, which is what Threads wants.
Which is exactly what I've been doing.
So Jason just stays on the dark side over there.
That and the fact that Starbucks opened up or redid their rewards program this week, and everyone who thought that they had gold status, even though that hadn't been a thing since 2019, thought they suddenly got demoted to green status. There was so much low-hanging fruit there, so I ended up writing about that as well. We don't have to talk about that unless we run out of things to talk about later. But I will just say that the MacBook Neo is fantastic for what it's for. The fact that they were able to put together a computer at this price point that still can do all of the things that its market is going to want is great. The only limitation I kind of ran into with this had more to do with the fact that the model they sent me was 256 gigs, which made it harder for me because I just basically didn't install very many things on it. I did install Logic and I did stem splitting and it was fine. That was where I can handle this. Just give me a minute. It took longer than the MacBook Air. But listen, no one thinking about the MacBook Neo should care about benchmarks, right? It's faster at most of the things you would do with it than the M1 and the M2 and probably the M3. The M4 single core performance is where it starts to exceed it because really the A18 Pro is the iPhone version of the M4, same core architecture, whatever.
Just less cores.
Correct. And it also, and especially the GPU, that's where, but I don't again, I did run some whisper transcription, those kinds of things use the GPUs, and it took longer, but I never saw a spinning beach ball, it just was fine. The 8 gigabytes of RAM could become a limitation for people because my guess is that although if you're coming from Windows, I have no idea what your tab hygiene is. I just don't know. I don't have a really good feel for that. But if your tab hygiene is bad, 8 gigs of RAM might start to catch up to you, but just close some tabs, it'll be fine. So it was great. It handled everything. I did Lightroom denoise. Again, no problem. It wasn't, I was trying to do things on it that no one thinking of buying it should care about doing, but to find where the limit was. And it did all of those things without a problem. It, again, the only main limitation I ran into was I basically used it with everything. I didn't even install Slack. I didn't install Spark. I didn't install any of the things that I would normally use. So that did make it a slightly annoying experience because I was basically using Gmail in a browser and Slack in a browser. But I was trying to mirror how will people who use this on a daily basis probably use it.
Right. So there were some great video reviews as well. And the one I'll link is Patrick Tomaso, which I've mentioned his name on the show before, but his is like a 5-minute review. And it's basically like, hey, I'm going to open DaVinci Resolve and I'm going to open apps. And he just shows look, it's doing the things. It's going to take longer to do the things, but it's going to do all the things. And it's a great computer. So I'll link his video. And Tyler Stallman had another great video, even doing photography and video stuff. Here's the thing. It is a Mac. And because it's a Mac, it can do all the Mac things. It's just going to do some Mac things slower. And the people who do those things all the time, like intense video editing or whatever, maybe not. But Patrick in his threads, where you should follow him on Threads because he also deals with trolls over there. But he was like, listen, I was editing videos on an Intel i7 10 years ago, and the MacBook Neo is night and day. And that's a comparison of a decade apart, but it's still we were editing video on that. I remember I had my 12-inch G4 PowerBook. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did get After Effects. And I remember I built this elaborate 3D environment for the company I was working for. They were doing a 25th anniversary celebration. And so I was making this crazy 3D thing because I learned how to place images in 3D space in After Effects and move the camera so it looked like I was going down a film strip. So I had hundreds of layers, each layer just an image but placed in 3D space. And anytime I made a change, I literally had to go get a cup of coffee. It would just take forever to render, and it was, but guess what? It actually did it. It could do it. And the MacBook Neo, I think, is the same story. It can do so many different things. One question I have for you, because you've been looking at the screen more than me, How does it compare to the MacBook Air screen? Because it is a lower quality screen than the MacBook Air.
Well, in two specific ways. It's still Retina. The only differences are it's sRGB color instead of P3, and it doesn't have the ambient light sensor, which means it doesn't get brighter, and it doesn't also have True Tone. Of those things, the only thing I noticed was that it didn't have True Tone. What I mean by that is there were situations when I was like, oh, it's not going to automatically adjust the color temperature. When you're using any of Apple's other displays that have True Tone, you literally never think about True Tone, right? That's the point. Is you shouldn't notice a shift in color based on the ambient, like the rest of the light in the room. And on the MacBook Neo, there were a couple times. I don't notice the difference between 60 hertz and 120 hertz on a screen that's that size. But what I do notice is color temperature. I guess that's my burden to bear. But that wasn't a big problem. I don't think people will care. What it just means is later in the day, the screen is going to be a little bluer than maybe you would prefer. Or if you're in a room where the color temperature of the lighting is warmer, then it's going to seem cooler. Or if you're in a room where the lighting gets cooler or whatever, you're on daylight or just depending on it, it's going to, you may notice that more if you are used to a display with True Tone. The display on this thing is great. It is only different in those ways. It's still Retina. Like that's the thing most people care about the most.
Did you find yourself having to manually adjust the brightness more often?
I did, but mostly because I realized that I prefer my screens apparently really bright, not because I mean it was like setting it probably based on I don't know, it was like started at 50%, and I was like because it's the same brightness as the MacBook Air. It just doesn't get brighter if the room gets brighter, right? Like it doesn't automatically change it. So there were definitely situations where I was like, let's crank that up a little bit. This is not a display thing, but it is tangentially related. The other piece I think I missed was the backlit keyboard. I didn't think I would care, but I realized like if it's evening and everyone is in the living room and we're all watching a basketball game or something, and I'm trying to just like noodle around on the computer or whatever, so it's not very bright. I was like, oh yeah, backlit keyboard, super nice thing. But this thing is basically the previous, not the current Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pro, but it is basically the previous or like the original Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pros. That's what this keyboard is. And it actually feels a lot like that if you compare them. If you have a 12.9 Magic Keyboard, not the most recent one, but the original one, it's this. This is exactly what it feels like.
But it's a good keyboard. Trackpad still feels
great.
Good.
The trackpad on this feels way better than the Magic Keyboard, the original Magic Keyboard one. It's surprisingly good. And I think that anyone coming from a Windows computer or a Chromebook will be just like delighted to type on this and use the trackpad because somehow they managed to make a different trackpad and make it still, it's like the second best trackpad ever made, right? The current ones on all the other ones are the best, but this one, the other thing I will just mention for our listeners. So really the drawbacks on this are that it doesn't have a backlit keyboard. It's obviously an iPhone chip, so there's some limitations there. That's why the USB speeds are the way that they are. Right. That's why the memory is the way that it is. Also, that means that the memory bandwidth is a lot lower and the SSD transfer speed is really slow. Like it's half of the M1. Like because they just never considered that an iPhone was going to need that kind of data transfer. So that is the one thing that would make this less than ideal for Final Cut, for iMovie, for Logic, for that sort of thing. The memory itself, all that is like less of an issue than simply because the A18 Pro is a better chip than has been in any iPad except for the M4 Air Pro and M5 Pro.
And M5,
And those all handle Logic and Final Cut.
Right. So the other thing, the USB-C ports, which there are two.
This is weird.
One is USB 2, one is USB 3. The faster one is the back one.
Yes.
And that one, like you said, I feel like that should have been the slower one because that's where you naturally plug in a charge.
Yeah, that's the one design fail. I feel very strongly because you want to plug the power into the back so you still have the front one open, but they did it the other way around.
And when you got the notification, so we didn't talk about this last time, but if you plug in something that requires faster speed and you plug it into the slower USB-C port, namely the front one, it will show you a warning. And you got it. What did you do when that warning popped up? Like what made it pop up?
So I had plugged in an SD card, right? So I was doing Lightroom. I took an SD card, plugged it into the Apple USB C to SD adapter.
Right.
And I plugged it in to, I guess, the frontmost one.
Right.
And it just said, so in that case, the USB 2 port would handle it.
Yeah,
it's not like it wasn't going to be able to do it, but it was like, hey, by the way,
BT dubs.
Sorry to interrupt you, but if you take a moment and you plug it into the other one, just trust me, it'll be better. I mean, that's not exactly, that's probably how they should have worded it, but that's not. But it just says like, hey, the other port is faster. You should plug into that instead.
They should have said, hey, bro, in the notification.
Hey, by the way.
Hey.
But they don't, they do both support the same power. So you don't have to care about that. It's not going to tell you, hey, by the way, the other port's faster charging.
Which it's only 20 watts. So it's like.
So it'll charge up to 30 watts.
It will.
But it's not still not considered fast charging. Right.
Okay. Right.
So, but in the brick that it comes with is only 20 watts.
Right. Okay. I couldn't find if it would charge faster with a bigger brick.
I tried to do the thing with, I guess, iStat menus, but I have iStat menus something.
Sure.
And when I downloaded iStat menus to the new version of whatever it is, my license worked, but that version, for whatever reason, required an update to access the sensors.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, this is pointless because I have the newest version of it and I can't do the only test I care about doing. Whereas on my MacBook Air, I could do the test because it still apparently has an older version on it. Like I haven't updated it or something.
Strange. Okay. Well, anyway, that's the MacBook Neo. I'm excited to do it. I'm not going to do a full review on YouTube. I'm going to do something else that I think will be
plug it into your XDR and let's just have fun.
Well, let's talk about the XDR. We were talking about displays a second ago. So I did a little 5-minute video myself yesterday because I was too excited and I had to share the unboxing. So here's me trying to lift it. The box with XDR is very heavy because the box is like, it doubles the weight. Like the box itself is very heavy, the cardboard. But anyway, I did an unboxing. I set it up. I did a side-by-side with the Studio Display cameras. And if you want to see anything in the video, like that's probably the most worthwhile piece of information. But it is night and day how much better the new Studio Display camera is compared to the old Studio Display camera. Like, even I didn't realize how bad it was until I saw the side-by-side, and I was like, oh, original Studio Display camera is literally a potato.
Yeah, it's garbage.
It makes me look like a potato. And so, I've had this for 12 hours almost as we've been recording. So I'll say like a full review. MKBHD has his full review. He does all the tests with the little white box going around the display. I will just say, I did immediately notice things like ProMotion and the XDR content, but it was like in little ways. So the first thing I tried to do was like, well, ProMotion, I should be able to scroll really fast and it'd be really smooth. The problem is, like, the first thing I did was go to like my YouTube homepage and tried to scroll, and it
has to load dynamically as you scroll.
And that was I immediately saw like, okay, well, this is not going to help me do that. Like scroll, but in Final Cut, scrolling back and forth in the timeline, I noticed the difference there. One of the smallest things, but I noticed every time, is the genie effect when I minimize an app and open it up. Like the genie effect, just you see all the frames then, so it's good at that. And everything just looks a little richer. And the brightness, like my previous Studio Display, I would have it around like 40% brightness in my normal use, or like right now when I'm recording. And now my Studio Display is like at like 10% or 15% brightness because it gets very bright and I do not need it that bright. But it's great that it's there. You know, I watched little moments of Interstellar and you obviously noticed the XDR. It's a really nice display. The camera is significantly better. I've not heard huge difference with the speaker. Again, I've not tested it very much, just listening to my own voice play through Final Cut or whatever. But it's a nice display, and I like it. So there you go. Now,
go ahead.
The one question that I will forever be plagued by, I got the glossy version because I had the glossy previous Studio Display, and I still stand by that if you compare the glossy next to the nano texture side by side, the nano texture just looks slightly soft. It's almost imperceptible, but there's just a slight softness to everything. And I didn't think I preferred that. I still look at my iPad Pro every day with nano texture, and I know that it's just slightly softer than a glossy version. So I went glossy on my Studio Display XDR. I don't think I regret it, but every time I look at this display and I see a light in the background, I'm like, should I have gotten nano texture? I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I know your thought. I just should have, but I don't know.
Yeah, so I have a review unit of the non-XDR version, and it is a nano texture.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the only way to live at this point. Nano texture is great. And I will just say, Steven, your XDR, Studio Display XDR, has a full generation faster processor in it than the MacBook Neo. Just think about that for a moment.
And
it literally does nothing.
It has 128 gigs of storage in it, someone discovered, which is like, why is there a 128 SSD?
Because they just didn't rip it off the chip when they put it in it. That's why. It was cheaper to just pick up the ones that fell off the assembly line and just stick them in, because they're not going to sell that many of these displays. But I think both the Studio displays, I believe, have the A19 Pro in them. I don't know if that's true or not, but way overkill. I mean, they can make a whole friggin' laptop with the A18 Pro, and they put the A19 Pro in the
This
displays.
could be an iMac. Like, it literally has all the components inside. It actually
could be an iMac with zero storage. But I was just going to comment. So I've been using this Studio Display for a week, and speakers are actually better. Webcam way better. In fact, when we logged on, it popped up. I'm not using it now. I still use the iPhone Air. Review unit as my camera. That's why that'll be the last thing I send back, because it is my webcam at this point.
That's hilarious.
It's the most expensive webcam I've ever owned. But overall, the non-XDR version it's the same panel. It's essentially the same thing. But the speakers is definitely not a reason to upgrade. Let me just be clear.
No.
The A19 Pro, definitely not a reason to upgrade, because it doesn't do anything that you can possibly understand. But it is nice.
It is nice. So
still probably not worth $1,600, just to be honest.
Well, it's just, I mean, it depends what your priorities are, I guess.
And my confession is, I did make one Threads post that was just pure rage bait, which no one understood as sarcasm, and that's my own fault, and I'm fine with it, which was for $3,300, which I think is what this costs, right?
For the XDR, yes.
Yeah. Apple has finally made a case for the Vision Pro. Because the Vision Pro is only $200 more, and it is infinity better displays, and you can have as large as you possibly can want. They're little mini OLEDs. They are way better displays.
But it blurs everything you're not looking directly at.
You're not looking at it. What do you care?
Phobia. I like seeing stuff out of the corner of my eye.
If you look at it, it'll render very, very, very quickly, especially in the M5. All I'm saying is those displays are incredibly good. And they are actually better. The pixel density is obviously way, 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 way more, because they're tiny and they're OLEDs. And the brightness is not as good, but that's good.
But you're in a
Trust me, you appreciate that, because if it blasted 2,000 nits into your eyeballs from 1.5 inches, it would be the last thing you saw.
What is that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? It's like The Sixth Day or whatever. And there's like, he blasts, I don't know.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Never mind. I feel like there's some but anyway. But the webcam is improved on both. Yes. Someone was asking me on social media. So if you get the non-XDR Studio Display or the XDR, you get the same good webcam. And both also get the 6-speaker array, the 3 mics, and Thunderbolt 5, which was the other upgrade. Which,
I think, and there's 2 Thunderbolt ports. And,
yes.
And the reason I think that that's true is so you can daisy chain them.
You can daisy chain.
Because you could not daisy chain the previous ones, because all the other ports were USB-C and they were not Thunderbolt. And the Studio Display requires Thunderbolt in order to do that. So I actually tried it.
Yeah. And someone asked on social media, can you daisy chain the old Studio Display to the new one? And you can.
Yeah, that's what I did. I daisy chained the old one to the new one. You do have to do it in that order, because the old ones don't have the second port in order to plug the new one into. But if you have a new one sitting there, you can plug a Thunderbolt cable into the second Thunderbolt port, and they're both marked. I do actually think one of them is Thunderbolt 5 and one of them is Thunderbolt 4, I believe. But the old Studio displays are Thunderbolt 4, so it doesn't matter. Because they're identified differently.
No, they're 2 Thunderbolt 5 ports.
Is it on both of them?
Yeah, I'm looking at the tech specs page.
Great. Okay, so I was wrong.
But
see, there you go. I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong.
It's 2 Thunderbolt 5s. This is the normal, not XDR Studio Display, and it's still 2 Thunderbolt 5s.
Okay, great.
2 USB-Cs.
So there is an indicator, but that's just plug in here, and then the other one you can use. Okay.
Yeah, when I plugged in the power of my XDR, it had, like, you can see in my video, it shows the 4 ports, and it's like, hey, plug it in here and this port.
And that's the difference. I'm sorry. See, I was wrong. One of them is an upstream Thunderbolt port, and one of them is a downstream port.
Whatever that means.
Well, one means that you are plugging into the machine.
Right.
The other one means you can plug other things out.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, I like it. I'll after I spend a week with this one, we'll maybe talk about it again next week. But I like it. It looks really good, and yeah, it's there. I'm going to be staring at it every day. So we'll see.
I hope you like it.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's do a couple quick things because we don't have the MacBook Pros in hand, but there have been reviews of the M5 Max, and I will put Tyler Stallman's video review in the show notes because he did a great job. But spoiler, the M5 Max is like super fast. Like it's really fast. And Tyler Stallman does tests up until the point where it no longer plays video in real time because of the amount of color grading and filters that he's putting on his video. So he really shows like this is where it starts slowing down. And so you can kind of gauge your workflow if you're in the DaVinci Resolve color grading world, if you're in the photography world. Like he really does push it to the limit and let you know this is when it starts dropping frames, or this is when it doesn't do the 24 frames per second in real time anymore. So I would encourage you to watch his review for the M5 MacBook Pro. That's really good. And then also the 17E is also around, and Jason has one.
I do have one. I have one right here.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
Let's unbox it live.
Yeah.
Jason wasn't taking the wrapping off.
This is a review unit, but I have not reviewed it yet, so we're gonna just do this real quick.
Here we go.
Hopefully you could hear that because that is one of the most satisfying sounds in the universe. But iPhone 17e, it looks a lot like a 16e. I don't.
It looks pretty much exactly like it.
It does. It's a good phone. I think the audience it's for will be really happy with it. I think this is a good phone if you're like, well, my teenager, it's time, needs a phone, don't want to spend $1,000, don't want to spend $800, but I need them to have a phone, or like you're buying a phone for one of your parents.
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that. This is why my mom will not use the 17E, even though it would be a great phone for her. It does have MagSafe, by the way. That was a big addition. You finally get MagSafe with the 17E. And so I feel like you could recommend this as just like the cheapest new iPhone if you just want one. And it does have Apple Intelligence and all that too. Every time I had shown the 16E doing Apple Intelligence in videos, people were like, wait, what phone has a notch and can do Apple Intelligence? Like people just didn't know the 16E existed or could do that. But it's a good phone. The review said the same. Like it's plenty capable. Battery life is actually pretty good for those who tested it. I was at my mom's house last week, and she has a 16 regular. That's her current iPhone. And she was like, should I get the Pro phone? And I was like, well, Ma, I don't know if you need the Pro phone. What do you want the Pro phone for? And you know what she said, Jason?
She wants the 0.5s?
She said, I want the 3 circles. That was verbatim what she said. I want the 3 circles. I was like, Ma, do you know what the circles are? She was like, yeah, they're the cameras. I said, all right, Ma, on your iPhone 16, go to the camera, please. And she goes to the camera. I said, do you know how to switch to the ultra wide? She was like, what's that? I was like, do you know what these little numbers are? She said, no, I don't know what that does. I never touched those. I was like, so you never use the second camera on your phone, but you want the 3? She's like, yeah, I like everybody has the 3 circles. Whatever Apple has done to make people want the 3 cameras from the back, even if they don't use them. And I see even people who have the Pro phones, they're not tapping 4X or 0.5X. Everybody just pinches and zooms when they take a picture. That's all they do.
Don't pinch and zoom.
I know that. But people buy the Pro phones and they still pinch and zoom everything.
Every time you pinch and zoom, an angel gets hit by a bus or something. I don't know, but it
loses its wings is the phrase. But yeah, sure, that. Yeah. But anyway, my mom literally just texted me because apparently it's unrelated.
Because she really wants the 3 circles. Steven, where are my 3 circles?
She's watching live. No, she's not. We don't have a live stream. She asked me to open the garage door, but I thought it was open. Anyway, hold on. Let me. I got to let my mom in.
If she comes in, please put her on the podcast.
That would actually be amazing.
I want to ask her questions about the 3 circles. She wouldn't be able to hear me because she has no earbuds, but still.
Anyway, she wants the 3 circles. So I guess when the iPhone 18 comes out this fall, she's going to get the Pro so she can have the 3 circles. But honestly, like this is why the Pros, I feel like it's the best-selling phone. Like even in this past, like with the iPhone Air and the 17s, what's everybody buying? It was the Pro and Pro Max that was out of stock the longest.
Yeah.
At all the Apple stores and everything. And people want the Pro phone. Like
my kids, both my girls went from SEs at some point, and then one of them had the 11 Pro. That is our hand-me-down phone. Everyone in my family that's had a phone has had that phone. And then both of the girls ended up with 16s, And our younger of the two girls was like, I don't like this SE anymore, please. And I was like, why? She's like, I need the 0.5s. Dad, I need some 0.5s.
But they use the 0.5
all the time. Every photo is a ridiculous 0.5 of their foreheads. It's like, I don't know.
Is it it's because of selfies?
It's like, well, no, the 0.5s are not selfies.
Yeah, but the kids.
Yeah.
The
You're
kids
right.
turn it around.
Yes. Sorry.
Which I don't even know how. I don't know. That is a special skill. That is.
If that was the way you were forced to live, you'd get really good at it.
Yeah.
Life finds a way.
They found a way to take good selfies that are actually framed. Well, I don't know if they're good, but they're framed. They're in the frame.
They are the way they want them.
That's exactly right. They are the way they want them.
Why they want them that way, I do not know. But they are the way. I sound like Dr. Seuss right now.
That is. You should write a Dr.
They
Seuss
are the way they
parody. iPhone cameras. They are the way they.
Want
Anyway,
them.
however you said it, however you did it.
They are the way they want them.
There you go. All right. Well, there's other news. I actually have a Galaxy S26 Ultra in hand. That's the same color as my MacBook Neo, which we're going to talk about. But I have some very initial impressions. And then there's a bunch of other news like Sonos speakers and all of that. But before we do that, we want to thank our friends at Clean My Mac. If you've never used Clean My Mac and you wonder, where's all that storage going? What's all that system storage? Or should I clean up? Yes, you should clean it up. Yes, you should take care of it all. And the way to do it is with Clean My Mac. I'm going to go here so you can see it. It is from the great people at MacPaw. But Clean My Mac can do things even like clean up your cloud storage, like iCloud, OneDrive, Google Drive, or Dropbox. Clean My Mac can go in there, find the large files, and take care of them. And iCloud Drive, if you use it, I use iCloud Drive, but there can be some big files. It keeps things downloaded even when you don't want to, and it's a pain to have to deal with that directly in the Finder. Don't do that. Just use Clean My Mac. It can take care of all of it for you. Even your messages. If you have those messages with big attachments, someone sent that long video, or you sent a big video to, your parents of your kids doing something, Clean My Mac can go and be like, hey, here's some big videos. Let's get rid of that to clear up some space. Plus, you can go through your computer, see what's going on in the background, take care of all the clutter, do all the cleanup. It has a feature called Space Lens, so you can see the storage the way your Mac sees it. Gives you a visual map of your drive, highlights the heaviest folders, literally heavy. Those things weigh a lot. Helps you clear out space without digging through endless directories. Plus, it has features like My Activity, where you can see things and see the maintenance and all the activities going on in the back. It can help the performance, all of it. So here's what you do. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use our code PrimaryTech for 20% off at clnmy.com/primarytech. That's cleanmy.com. Not the full words, but the link is in the show notes. You just click it there. /primarytech for 20% off. Our thanks to Clean My Mac for sponsoring this episode and our friends at Framer. Framer is an incredible tool. Listen, your marketing website sets the tone for your brand. It's a lot of times just the front door, the first impression that people have of your small business, your big business, Fortune 500 companies, and having that website on point, you got to do it. That's why so many companies from early stage startups to Fortune 500s are turning to Framer. It's the website builder that turns your .com from a formality into a tool for growth. Framer is a website builder. It works like your team's favorite design tool. Real-time collaboration, so if you have multiple people working on the website, it can help with that. A robust CMS with everything you need for great SEO, advanced analytics, even A/B testing, which is wild. I mean, I A/B test all the time on YouTube, but you can actually A/B test your website, even a homepage. What homepage generates more calls to action, people actually clicking through? Framer can do it. And Framer is an enterprise solution also with premium hosting, enterprise-grade security, 99.99% uptime, and it gives the world's leading brands like Perplexity, Miro, and Mixpanel the confidence they need to build their websites with Framer. So whether you want to launch a new site, test a few landing pages, or migrate your full .com, Framer has programs for everyone. So to learn how you can get more out of your .com from a Framer specialist or get started by building for free today at framer.com/primary for 30% off a Framer Pro annual plan. That's framer.com/primary for 30% off. Framer.com/primary. That link is also in the show notes. Rules and restrictions may apply. Our thanks to Framer for sponsoring this episode. Now, real quick, do you have a Galaxy S26 Ultra?
I don't.
Listen, here's the thing. I've not used a Samsung phone, I think, since my flip phone in like 2002.
Wait, what? Okay.
I've not used any Samsung smartphone ever. When I was in the Android world, I had all HTC. I had like the HTC Hero. I had the HTC Touch that ran Windows Mobile. And then from the HTC Hero, I went to the iPhone 4, and I never went back. And anytime I've gotten an Android phone to test in recent years, it's either been a Pixel or it's been a Nothing phone. Those are the two that I get to try because I like the Nothing aesthetic. I still have my Nothing 3A here. I think it looks kind of cool. So I've not tried a Samsung one. So I set it up, and I'm going to be testing some things. I wanted to try the privacy display, of course. And, that's cool. You can see in MKBHD's review, which I'll link in the show notes, you do lose some brightness with privacy display, but it is cool, like, from the side, you have a privacy display. People can't see what you're doing. So that's with privacy display on. And if I were to actually disable privacy display, now you can see, like, you can see from pretty wide angles.
Yeah. There's a real downside to this, Steven. I just noticed as you're doing that.
What's that?
The people sitting next to you on the plane are not going to be able to see your screen. They are going to be able to see all of your fingerprints, and they're going to be disgusted. Because when the screen is bright, you can't see the fingerprints.
That is true.
I just realized that as you're doing it, I was like, oh.
Well, and also on a plane, so even with the privacy display, if you're a little off axis, so you could still see.
Sure.
And this is kind of the angle you would be if you were in like economy on a plane. And I feel like a plane specifically, people are still just going to see what you're doing. Like this is not blacked out from the plane seat next to you, but while you're in the waiting area before you board, the person across or several seats over, they'll see a black screen. But the person sitting directly next to you on the plane, they'll still see what you're doing. But anyway, that's the one big feature. I just have to say, when I try a Pixel and a Nothing phone, I can get behind the aesthetic. Like I get it. You know what I mean? Like I can arrange my home screen and it feels like, okay, I could use this. The Samsung aesthetic, even for just like the app icons and such, I don't know, man. Like I understand this is probably the most powerful Android phone you can get, but it's hard for me to get past the visual of this personally. I don't know. It's just something about it. I don't know if it's like the round recs for even like the app cons are like very round rec. like they are like almost circles.
Yeah, that's like how close can we get these to Apple's icons without getting sued?
Well, and there was that case years ago where Samsung was sued by Apple. But anyway, that's just my very initial, like, I barely use this, but I'm gonna try and use it. It feels good in the hand. The hardware is obviously premium. It feels good. The camera, from some of the other initial reviews, when you go to the camera app, you can do like 30x and 100x. Like you can see all the numbers there at the bottom all the way up to 100. But when I tap the 30 and 100, I always have the thought in the back of my mind of like, is this actually taking a photo or is it just like generating something for me? It's hard to know. I don't know. But yeah, you can, it is terrifying. Here, I'm going to do it live if you're watching. Let's go all the way to 10x.
Wow.
There's that.
This is traumatizing.
Let's go to 100x. There it is.
Yeah, that's not good.
So anyway, but I'm going to play around with it some more. I will, I don't think I'm ever going to make like I switch to Android video because it's not true. Like I'm not going to switch to this, and you really, as with just like Apple, if you really want it to be in the Samsung ecosystem, you got to be in it. You got to get the Galaxy Buds if you want like the seamless experience there. You got to have the smart home that works with the device and all of that. But I'm going to try just for a little bit with the cameras, even if it's just to talk about it on this podcast, and we'll see. But hardware wise, I definitely get it. Like this is a premium phone. It feels good. And the action mode, have you seen the clips of action mode where people like literally turn the phone 360 degrees and it keeps the horizon locked?
No, I haven't seen that. But that's great.
Yeah, so you can like shaking. Yeah, you wouldn't see any shaking if you're in the action mode. But if you act like people actually will turn the phone 360 degrees and the video doesn't move, which is crazy.
Weird.
Which is crazy. So whatever it's doing with the sensor and capturing all the video, like it's interesting. But we'll see. Let me know if you got an S26 and you listen and watch the show. First of all, thank you because I know we're typically an Apple heavy show, but we want everybody. We want Windows. We want.
Leave us if you're an Android phone user. Leave us a 5-star review and tell us which Android phone is the best. Like you, right? What is the best not just which one do you like the most, but like, is the Pixel 10 Pro? Is it the something nothing? That's
something
the name.
nothing something. Yeah. And can you leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts? Yes. You could do it on the web.
Oh, that's right. That would be harder. I'm sorry.
You do need to sign in with an iCloud account, but you know.
Okay, just email me at the other guy at podcast. What is it?
Yeah, at Rivers. The other guy at primarytech.fm.
Thank you.
That goes straight to Jason. Okay. The other guy at primarytech.fm. Oh, and also, this doesn't have MagSafe, which is like even the Pixel 10 lineup has MagSafe, and the fact that Samsung didn't put it in this is
even the Pixel 10a got it, like the cheapest one they make.
I think so, yeah. So that seems ridiculous. Like Samsung totally should have put that magnet in, but anyway. All right, there's a bunch of other news that we really need to cover. Anthropic and the Department of Defense, they are still going back and forth.
They're at war.
Literally at war with the Department of War/Defense. But Anthropic has now officially sued the Department of Defense. They filed a lawsuit in the Federal Court of California that they requested a judge reverse the designation as a supply chain risk. The U.S. government did designate Anthropic as such, which Anthropic specified doesn't mean no companies can use Anthropic and Claude internally, which, according to Mark Gurman, Claude is heavily used inside Apple. And so even though it is deemed a supply chain risk, it doesn't necessarily mean Apple would have to stop using them. Whether the administration would tell Apple to stop using them, even though it's not legally required, is another story. But Anthropic said, quote, in this filing, the Constitution does not allow the government to wield its enormous power to punish a company for its protected speech. Anthropic turns to the judiciary as a last resort to vindicate its rights and halt the executive's unlawful campaign of retaliation. Those are the words from Anthropic. So they're fighting hard, trying to get back, and I think they're still holding out to maybe reach an agreement with the Department of Defense and be used, but we will see.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's worth mentioning here is that Google DeepMind's chief scientist, Jeff Dean, and a bunch of people at OpenAI have also filed a brief in support of Anthropic in this case, because I think that they see this is not the way this should work, right? It should not be a situation where you say, well, you are so important to us. You have to let us do anything we want, or we will make it so that you can't work with us at all. Like you can't have it both ways. And I don't think the AI companies, it is uncommon for Google, OpenAI, and Anthropic to agree on anything. And both Google's DeepMind scientists and OpenAI are filing legal briefs in support of Anthropic in this case.
Which is that's pretty wild. All right, so Grammarly and Superhuman, well, you were a big user of both of these things, and so I'll let you go into it. But the story is there was a feature that Grammarly launched called Expert Review, where they basically made suggestions to your writing, and they would say, based on the writing of this quote-unquote expert, you should do it this way. None other than Nilay Patel. It would actually, there's a screenshot here in the Verge article showing what this feature was saying, and it would, regarding the title that this person was writing, it says, what emotional or stakes-based word could underscore why this launch matters right now? Try weaving in a hook, such as Meta's high-stakes smartwatch comeback, to instantly frame urgency and intrigue. And then there's a little note, this suggestion is inspired by Nilay Patel's The Verge cast in his role as editor-in-chief. Now, they didn't ask Nilay, I think, to be used in this way, and writers and others were then having concerns that they were being misrepresented by this feature, because this feature was kind of saying, this person writes this way or does this thing, so you should do that. And but you wrote about it, so tell me.
Well, yeah, so just in case there's any confusion, Grammarly's been around for a long time. Grammarly bought Superhuman, which is an email program that I am a big fan of, and the founder, Raul Vora, is someone I've interviewed many times, know him reasonably well, as you can the CEO of a company like this. And so they bought Superhuman, and then they changed the name of the company to Superhuman. But the product, Grammarly, still, like if you have Grammarly on your computer, it still says Grammarly. It's not, right? So I just wanted to be clear about what we're talking about. It is the Grammarly product that we're talking about. And the reason I think that this is a big deal is, Stephen, have you ever heard of anybody who's mad at Grammarly? Like, it is one of the most useful pieces of software that people use every single day, and they use it for their research papers, they use it for emails, they use it for sales proposals, they use it for business plans. They use, like,
let me just say one thing.
Yeah.
It is amazing to me. Grammarly is one of the pieces, like the apps that, like you're saying, is just universally loved. And I've used it, and I do use it occasionally, but I never installed like the browser extension. Like you can install the Grammarly browser extension, and it'll just look at whatever's in your browser all the time. And I found that to be a lot. But I will do video calls with people that we both know in the tech space, Apple space, and when they share their screen, I will see the Grammarly extension all the time. Like this is used a ton. So yes.
And I have the Grammarly desktop app installed on my computer, because then in Ulysses, it gives me the suggestion, like it works everywhere. So pretty widely liked app, super useful. People use it all the time. They trust it. Like you have to have a level of trust if you're like, oh, that comma shouldn't be there. I'm just going to trust what Grammarly says, or like this, whatever. And what they basically did was they added an AI feature, and to give it credibility, they sort of piggybacked on the implied credibility of all these people, these journalists, editors, writers. There was a researcher, or like there was an academic who had died in January, and they were using that person without asking the estate. Like this is a total self-inflicted wound. It's like you built up, I think Grammarly was founded in like 2009. So like 17 years, you've built up all of this trust, and you just handed it over. And this is like every AI company, or actually this is every company that's trying to figure out what to do with AI right now, is this. It's like you traded all of your trust in. You could have used that trust to build new features, but you did it in order to like make it seem more valuable, the Grammarly subscription, because you're going to get all this feedback, and you did it in a way that made it seem like those people are actually like looking at at what you're doing. Grammarly was not saying that overtly, right? In fact, in their like documentation, they're like, no, these are inspired by, but then when you present it in the interface as if this is a feedback from Nilay Patel, that's bad. Like, and also I've never been given feedback by Nilay Patel, but I've listened to a lot of Nilay Patel, and I've read a lot of things he's written, and none of it sounded at all like that. So that's the other piece that's bad. It's like you're using their names to imply that this feedback came from them, and they're like, we literally never say that.
When using AI to do it is also implying that AI can suggest things as good as Nilay would write.
That's true.
And that premise itself is a little problematic, and maybe even offensive to some writers to be like, I don't want you, like, A, that's false. Like, it does not write as good as me. And B, I don't want to misrepresenting me. And that was the argument. And so they rolled this feature back. Like, it's not there anymore. But that's pretty crazy. It isn't like to trade that much goodwill. That is unfortunate. But speaking of companies that traded years of goodwill, Sonos that ruined a lot of things with their app launch, had not released a new consumer product in 2 years, since 2024, and they released 2 new speakers. So there's 2 Sonos speakers out there that you can pre-order. The Sonos Play, which is similar to the Sonos Move 2, so similar that you can actually group up to 3 Play or Move 2 speakers. But this is their new portable, rechargeable speaker. It's $299. You can pair Play and Move 2 speakers over Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, which is a Sonos first. You always had to have them on the same Wi-Fi network. But now you can maybe go out to the beach and pair a bunch of these speakers together and annoy everybody there while they're trying to eat their Pringles and fight seagulls. But anyway, the Play is $299, so you can get that. It's a cylindrical style speaker rather than the Move kind of oval elliptical type speaker. It does have a charging base. You can also charge it over USB-C. So that's the Play. And they also introduced the Era 100 SL, which I reviewed both the Era 300s and the Era 100s when they came out. All the Era speakers are very good, and the Era 100 SL is the same exact speaker, just no microphone, which some people might actually think is a feature. So it's actually cheaper, no built-in microphone. And if you want a pair of 100 SLs as really nice stereo speakers, or to just use across your Sonos home, it's a great deal. $189 for a really high-quality speaker and no microphone. Honestly, I would opt for the no microphone version. So there you go. Sonos had new speakers. Also, for some reason, Meta acquired... Oh, I also put the Move 2 review in there. I don't know why that's in there. Just kidding. That's not
okay. Pretend like you didn't see that, people.
Yeah, no, you're watching on YouTube, you didn't see that. Meta acquired Maltbook, which if you had followed the saga, Maltbook was the social network just for AI agents. And this is back when OpenClaw was called Maltclaw. What was it called?
I don't remember.
It was Maltbot. It was Maltbot. Excuse me. OpenClaw was previously Maltbot, and Maltbook was this social network just for AI agents. There was a lot of controversy about this because it seemed like there was a lot of human interaction on this website that was supposed to just be AI agents. There was some security implications where people could kind of mess with some of the AI agents that were connected to this remotely by like prompt injection and stuff. So not great, but Meta has acquired them, likely not to keep it as a social network. This is likely an acqui-hire where they just wanted the talent behind Maltbook, whatever talent might have been there. So yeah, the Maltbook team is joining Meta.
Yeah, I only have one thought about that, which is I think that creating the ability for these robots to communicate with each other is real bad. And the only thing that could possibly be worse is Meta owning that.
Right. So hopefully they just shut it down and just have the team do
something else, something entirely different. Like just
entirely different. Yeah.
Come up with a better way to serve ads to robots. I don't care.
Work on the Orion glasses with AI.
Something.
Don't do this. We don't need the robots talking to each other. Also, Meta related. This is actually positive and one that I'll get into. But Meta's rolling out new scam detection. So scam detection in messages where it might let you know that the person sending you these messages is not a real person, or this might be a scam. This is also in WhatsApp, and so you actually see messages there. It's rolling out. Meta has not said which country is first, but it is rolling out. And this actually hits close to home. We have a mutual contact, which we've talked about before, who suffered a great deal due to a scam via Facebook and Facebook Marketplace and Messenger. And honestly, if this feature had come out months ago, it might have prevented something really bad from happening. So glad that they're actually launching this. Hopefully this is the one place where we know someone who was affected by it. It happened with Marketplace specifically. But because this is Facebook Messenger, and that's where the Marketplace communications end up, hopefully they crack down on that, because this person was a victim of someone scamming through Facebook Marketplace, and they are out there. And so we know someone personally that has fell victim to that. So this is definitely needed. Hopefully it rolls out quickly. Hopefully it is pervasive, like this actually like finds scammers and stops it. But that's happening.
You know, it's interesting because I received a Facebook or a Messenger message from someone recently, and it was related to like a kid's sport or something. And I don't know if it was this specifically, but it said like, be careful, this could be a scam. And I'm like, it's definitely not a scam. It is a scam. I have to pay that much for a warm up for my kid's soccer, like whatever, but it's real. Like I really do have to. But then I also I was trying to offload something on Messenger, on Marketplace, and like you'll get these messages that are not directly in Messenger. They're like separate, and they're like, I'm interested in your thing. And then you're like, okay, cool. And then they're like, I will pay you $70 extra because I need to send this to my son who is currently out of state and I'm not available. And I will pay the extra shipping, and then they want to send you what happens if you agree to this. Cause I just like to string them along. Cause that's Steven, this should come as no surprise to you.
People on Threads.
I'm like, no, I actually want to understand how it works. And so what they do is then they're like, great. And then you will get a email. They're like, I just need your email address, and you would get a fake email that looks like a PayPal email. So they try to make you think that they've sent you money. But guess what? No scam warning.
Yeah,
none of that stuff gets scam warnings.
And the particular instance that we know of, it was a real person on the other end that never intended to ship a product. And if you're ever on Facebook Marketplace or one of these sites where you're buying something from another random individual, never opt for the shipping method. Like
right.
eBay is the only reliable service that will actually ship stuff, because eBay is the intermediary. When you deal with Facebook Marketplace people, you're just talking one-on-one. Meta's never going to help you in this instance. Like if they scam you by just not shipping the thing, and there's no like confirmation, there's no all of that. And the scam was the person said, well, I don't accept Square Cash or Apple Pay. I can't do any of that stuff. Oh, it's not working. Can you just buy a gift card and send me the numbers for the gift card? And that was the particular scam that we experienced. And so hopefully Meta catches more stuff like that, but we'll see. Another couple lightning round things. Google is sending Gemini across the workspace to docs, sheets, and slides. I've actually already seen this in my personal Google account if I'm in a Google Doc, because you can ask Gemini to like, help me write a script to post to this document from Shortcuts, which is the thing you can do, or post to a spreadsheet. And so Gemini's right there in Docs, and it can do a bunch of stuff for you. Gemini helped me recover video footage yesterday as I posted, and then you asked, why didn't you use Claude?
That was just a joke. I was trolling you.
No, I know. Well, and honestly, like...
I wanted to write like, what, Claude couldn't do that?
I did have that moment where... So our house sometimes we get power blips just because, like, of all the things about our house, the most flaky is power. And I have most things on a battery backup. And my Sony mirrorless camera used to have a battery in it with a USB-C cable to charge it whenever I recorded. And I had that on a smart home plug, so it was always charging while I was filming, when my filming scene was active, and then it would not be charging at other times. I swapped that out for one of the fake batteries. So it's not a real battery, but it's like one of the powers. Like, so it's constantly plugged into power. The battery is like fake, but the camera still works. I did that to try and limit heat because my Sony a7 IV would always overheat when I recorded longer than an hour. And so I was trying to reduce heat by not using the real battery and having it charge while recording. All that to say, the camera was plugged into just a normal outlet. Power blipped yesterday while I was in the middle of recording an hour-long video. The power blipped. The camera came back on, but it wasn't recording. So I was like, okay. So I hit record again, recorded another half an hour. So I had an hour of footage only to discover the first half, the first video file was corrupted. It didn't finish writing to the SD card. And I really did not want to record 30 minutes of A-roll again. And so I asked Gemini, because it was a web search initially. I was like, is there any way to recover footage from an SD card from this model camera that stops? And it gave me a bunch of options. One of them, a service that's on GitHub called Untrunk, which you run through the terminal. And so I just asked Gemini, like, well, how do I do that? And so I was just in Gemini asking it. And I did then start the conversation in Claude. But because I had the conversation already going in Gemini, it was going to take some steps to get Claude like caught up on what I was doing. And I just didn't feel like dealing with it. And Gemini actually walked me through and I got to recover the footage. Installed Untrunk in the terminal. I gave it the files and it did it. And it was, amazing. And I celebrated that I didn't have to re-record 30 minutes. But yeah, Gemini, also pretty smart.
Yeah, that's good. We've established that Gemini is your smarter friend, but isn't like in your face about it.
That is true. It did not. It wasn't in my face.
It doesn't make you feel bad. It just does. It's just like it's like your friend who knows who's been there before, and it's like, that is the Sagrada Familia over there. You're right. It is the tallest church in the world.
I did it last night. It's a long story, but I won't. It's not long here. I was asking it, how does one reason? How can we make logical conclusions as humans? Like, what is the basis for logic? Like, where do we say logic comes from?
Please don't teach the robots logic. Please. Just, Steven, come on.
Anyway, Gemini was pretty good at providing explanations through various worldviews of where logic originates and comes from. So it was pretty good at that. I'll just leave it there. All right, a couple other news. Live Nation Ticketmaster. If you didn't know, Live Nation Ticketmaster is basically a monopoly on concert venues here in the U.S.
Hold on. It's actually the mafia.
Yes, the mafia. So, and precisely why I'm going to show the next clip. I'm not going to play it. I'll just link to it. But there was a lawsuit against Live Nation Ticketmaster, and they settled this lawsuit. Basically, all like the huge concert venues in the U.S. are beholden to Live Nation Ticketmaster, both as the concert promoter company and the ticket sales company. And this is the reason why it's a bad idea for both Live Nation and Ticketmaster to be one company, but they are. And so they settled this lawsuit. They have to pay $280 million in damages, and they also have to open amphitheaters to all promoters, cap service fees. But there's a bunch of states that want to continue legislating because it's still a problem. And so I'm going to link The Verge obtained audio of a phone call between Live Nation CEO back in 2021 and the then CEO of the Barclays Center. And this phone call is wild, but it is 100% the mafia. Like, by the end of this call, Live Nation Ticketmaster is basically like, well, there's some other venues in the area, and it'd be a real shame if all the acts go there and no one comes to you. And it's like, these people have the power to do, like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
This is a real problem. But this is also why if you ever want to buy tickets to a concert, it is always Ticketmaster. And like SeatGeek, you'll see sometimes stadiums and amphitheaters use SeatGeek, but if they do, it's because they are at risk of the Live Nation mafia coming after them. Like, it's wild.
It is. But here's the there are two pieces that are bad. One, Live Nation Ticketmaster, bad. Like I can say that they don't sell tickets to this podcast. You can listen to it for free. And if you would like to pay for this podcast, you just give the money straight to us. It's all
That's
good.
Right. Straight to us. You don't have to buy Ticketmaster.
You don't have to go through Ticketmaster. You don't have to pay.
Join.primarytech.fm. Go there.
Yeah, and it's what, $5 a month, and there is no $39 service fee on top.
No
of it.
service
Don't
fee.
worry.
No service
Right?
fee.
It's like it's fine. So we can say what we want. We'll say what we want about anybody, but definitely about this. But it is super bad that essentially all of these venues become beholden to one and then have to become beholden to the other, right? So that's real bad. It's even worse that this lawsuit got settled. It is real bad. And in fact, I think there's 27 states involved, and the states are like, I don't care what you do, DOJ. We are not done here. They are continuing their lawsuit because this is a merger that should have never gone through.
Right.
And if there is listen, I've been on the record as not a real big Meta fan. I just made that clear, 7 minutes ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Meta, Instagram. I think it'd be ridiculous at this point for them to try to break apart Meta and peel off Instagram. It's stupid. It's been 10 years. But listen, you want to start a petition. I will pay $39 fees to anyone who can break apart Live Nation and Ticketmaster. It is that bad.
It is crazy. So much so. I mean, the audio call that The Verge obtained was pretty wild. But back in 2022, even Taylor Swift was super mad because Ticketmaster, guaranteed that the sales would be fine. And her Eras tour was massive. And so there was millions of people trying to buy tickets. But multiple fans sued Ticketmaster. Taylor Swift, even on Instagram, was like, Ticketmaster blew this deal. So no one likes Ticketmaster.
No one likes Ticketmaster.
no one likes Ticketmaster. And so something needs to happen there.
That is, I think, the definition of a mafia. It's like you keep making money, but no one likes you.
No one likes you. Everybody wants you to be gone, to go away.
But there's nothing they can do about it. Yeah.
Right. We need Batman. Who is the Batman to Live Nation Ticketmaster?
We need something.
Apple ticketing. No, just kidding.
Please
Apple
no.
doesn't need
Apple Events. They made an app for that.
Apple.
No,
what
Steven.
if that is the play? Apple invites to take over. No, just kidding. That's not going to happen.
I mean, no.
I tried using the invites for my Super Bowl party and it didn't work. But anyway, Blue Sky CEO steps down, and she'll still be on the team, but Jay Graber is stepping down. Tony Schneider will take over as interim CEO. Blue Sky is still very small, but it's getting more active. I feel like it's nowhere near Threads, but it's still bigger than Mastodon, and it's there. I can't
get any of the trolls to respond to me on Blue Sky, so I'm sticking with Threads.
the trolls, they don't hang out on Blue Sky. But people have strong feelings about Blue Sky because I don't know why, but in one of my recent videos, I don't know if it's because I had the Blue Sky icon show up or something, but somebody was like, "Ew, Blue Sky, unsubscribe." Do you know why that is?
I don't know why that individual was like, "Ew, Blue Sky, unsubscribe."
But where the negative?
I think it's because it's where all the tech bros hang out.
Okay. I thought that was X, honestly.
Well, that's a different kind of tech bro.
Okay. So we got two tech bro platforms. Is that what you're telling me?
We have, I don't want to get into we can't get into
we don't get into it. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, let's skip all that. But instead, one last piece of sad news, if it's even news. Mark Gurman said Apple's Smart Home Hub is delayed once again, and it won't launch until September. And this is one of the, all the things that we got last week through the Apple announcements. Things we didn't get: new Apple TV, updated HomePod or HomePod Mini. We didn't get the HomePod with a screen. We didn't get an updated base iPad or an M5 iMac or an M5 Mac Mini, which I feel like the Mac Mini and iMac, why didn't they just throw the chips in there and upgrade them? What's the deal? Do you know why?
Because they need something to announce in May. I don't know.
It seems, it could just be a press release next month, but it seems like those two products, like an M4 Mac Mini, they should just throw anyway. We were not going to get this for a while. Who knows when this is coming? I don't know. Mark Gurman keeps saying it's coming. It's delayed because maybe it's because of the Assistant and Apple Intelligence. Who knows? Also, no Gemini in 26.4. That's not coming. Just so you know. I know. You already said I know. That was a point to you.
So far, this is one where I get to continue being right.
You get to continue being right for now. All right, Jason, for our personal tech, it's my birthday tomorrow. It's the
Happy
big
birthday, by the way. This is the only opportunity I'm going to have. By the way, do you have any Google Smart Home things in your house? Like any smart, Nest Hub things? Oh, man. Because I got to tell you, the only smart home assistant test I care about is if you ask it, hey, sing happy birthday to Steven. Hold on.
Oh.
Hey, Google, sing happy birthday to Steven. Hold on. This is going to be worth it.
Sorry to everyone listening.
Hold on. I don't know why she stopped.
She cut off last second.
I don't know why she stopped. She must have
That was nice.
been listening first, but it'll actually do it. And then if you ask Alexa or if you ask the voice assistant on your Apple devices, it's like Alexa will be like, "Did you know for $14.99 I can give you 17 versions of Happy Birthday?"
Hold on, I want to mute myself saying the wake word. Hold on 1 second. Sing Happy Birthday to Steven. My HomePod is.
I'm really more of a speaker than a singer.
Wow.
Exactly.
I'm really more of a speaker than a singer.
Yeah, and what Alexa will do is just like play you a version of Happy Birthday. But Google actually puts the name. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's pretty cool.
It's your
That's
birthday.
pretty cool. No, that's pretty good. That is pretty cool. Thank you for that. And so I'm going to share I'm turning the big 4-0. And so I think I had a tech midlife crisis. I think that's what I'm chalking it
Or
up
you
to.
have a YouTube channel. They're about this. Okay.
See, these are all expenses. So obviously I got the Studio Display XDR. It's not a review unit. I bought that. But I did the one thing that I really got is like the present to myself is I finally got an OLED TV. Okay. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. I asked the experts, John Syracusa, and you've been telling me to just get an OLED TV forever. But which one do you have?
I have the G series, which is last week what I told you to buy.
Yeah, you did tell me.
And then you still went and asked Syracusa, and he told you what?
Well, he told me to 2 Sonys and the G5.
Yeah, thank you.
And then he told me to wait for the G6, the LG G6 OLED, which I did look up. It's releasing later this month. It's going to be $1,000 more expensive. And I was like, I don't care
wait for
much. That. I've been watching garbage TVs my entire life that have been $500, and so I'm not going to wait for the.
Before you explain more, I just want to explain to our listeners, just in case, the G series from LG, excuse me, is essentially mostly the same as the C series, except the C series is meant to sit on like a console, so it's thicker and it has feet. The G series is meant to be wallpaper, that it's just like super thin bezels, super thin TVs, and they just sit right on the wall. So that's the main difference. So everything the G series is better. I'm not saying it's not, but the difference is for most people, you could save $1,500 and you could, everything Steven's about to say, you could buy the C6 and probably get that. Sure. Just wanted to be clear.
And so I went big also. I went with a 77-inch OLED. So I'm excited for that. It's larger than my current TV. I currently have a 65-inch. So that's the big one. But then I realized, well, one of the things that I put behind the TV that I currently have is the Philips Hue gradient light strip, which is, I like doing that when we watch movies. And so I was like, all right, well, I got to get that. And so as I was getting that, I was like, well, you know what? I know Philips Hue has their new Pro Hub, and I don't know what the difference is, but I asked Gemini, and Gemini told me some differences. And while if you have a ton of Hue devices, the Pro Hub is capable of like more devices, it is also supposedly better at working with the new Hue sync box, which you would use with the gradient light strip. So I was like, well, all right. So I got the Hue Pro. I got the new gradient light strip. I got the new Hue sync box. One big reason, hopefully it's more responsive, and there were some quirks with the original sync box where the screen will just go black sometimes, and that kind of stinks. And so supposedly, according to Gemini, the new Hue sync box fixes that. And it's also capable of 4K at 120, which I figured my kids would appreciate. My son plays PS5, my other son has an Xbox, and so they can have now 4K 120, and the LG G5 has 4K 120 as well. So I got the new Hue Pro, SyncBox Pro, or the new SyncBox. I got the Hue Pro Hub, gradient light strip, OLED TV, and just to, round it out, as you do. This one I did not buy new. I bought an open box, but I got a Denon receiver, upgraded Denon receiver. One, because my old receiver really stinks at HDCP, like the HDMI control protocol. Like it just does not switch to whatever source is active. And so we have to manually switch it. And so I'm like, maybe it'll fix that. Also, my old Denon receiver for the home theater could not go do 4K 120. And so this Denon does. And so I got an open box Denon, and I'm going to upgrade for my 40th birthday my entire home theater.
Okay.
TV receiver and the Hue light strips behind it. And I'm going to watch scenes from Interstellar this weekend and just enjoy all the OLED.
When we got our G series, I'm looking right now because I don't remember, because we've had it a couple of years, so it's not going to be quite as current. The main difference will be brightness. It won't be quite as bright as the one you're getting, because that's one of the things they keep increasing. But the first thing we did was put on, I'm pretty sure it was like it wasn't The Mandalorian. What was one of the other series that were happening at that time? I don't remember. But the point was, it's like real dark and real bright points. It's like so fun to watch. You're like, this is amazing.
Yes.
So Interstellar will be good. Yeah.
Interstellar will be good. I'm going to watch other movies and stuff, but maybe The Dark Knight. That's probably a good one to watch on an OLED. I don't typically splurge like this, but I feel like I was having a midlife crisis, I guess. And I was just like, I want to do it. I want to get the whole thing. Home theater is one of the things, like even in high school, I remember I don't know if you remember these. It was like all in one box DVD player and home theater system.
Yeah.
Where you get 5 little speakers and they would all connect via speaker cable to the back of like the DVD player, and it would do all the things. And I remember setting that up in my basement room in high school, putting in my Batman Begins DVD and I thought the sound on that home theater was amazing. And I mean, it did have like a dedicated subwoofer, so that alone was like fun to listen to. And then I realized, because I played bass, because I still am a musician, I guess. But anyway, I played bass and I had a bass amp. I realized I could connect my bass amp to the home theater as well and use my bass amp as a subwoofer. So I would do silly things like that. And so I've always been kind of a home theater nerd. And I'm going to upgrade my home theater this week. I was on the fence. Maybe you can advise me. I mounted the TV to the wall when we moved in. So the mount's already there. The TV's already on the wall. So I literally just need to change the mount out. I did want to move the TV down a little bit, because these larger TVs, where you screw in the bracket is not the center of the TV. It's like on the bottom. So when you mount it on the wall, if you place the bracket exactly where you want the center of the TV, that's not how it works. Like the TV is slightly elevated from it, because the mounting screws are at the bottom of the TV on the back.
Wait. Okay, do you have this TV already?
No, but I looked at the picture on Best Buy. And this is actually how my current TCL TV is as well.
So on mine, which I looked it up, it's the GX, so it's like 5 generations. It's 5 years old. So we got it in like 2021 or 20. It was a pandemic purchase. We're like, we're going to be spending a lot of time watching movies, so we got that. But because of how thin the TV is, it's actually recessed into. So like the TV lays flat against the wall. The mount is inside, there's a cutout inside the TV frame, back of the TV, that the mount connects to, and then when you collapse it, because it's like a expandable, collapsible thing, it just fits right inside, so your TV is still literally flush against the wall. That's the whole point of the G series, is that it's going to be flush against the wall. There are no mounting screws on the back. They're like, it is the back, but it's like recessed in, and that's where it gets mounted. So like in that area right there, yeah.
So this is the picture. So
that's at the top.
What in the world? But wait, there's still it looks like there's still screw holes.
That's if you want to attach a base to it.
Oh.
So that's up there at the top is where you're going to attach your mount, and it's going to, you get an accordion mount. You'll have to get an accordion mount for it, so that what you'll do is when you install it, it'll be like it's extended from the wall, and then it'll collapse on itself, and that TV will be completely flat against the wall. Otherwise, there is no point spending the extra money on this TV. The point is, it is like a 1/2 inch thick sticking off your wall.
Wait a minute. So I have to I can't use the mount that I already have?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what mount you have.
But
you're going to want a super low profile mount.
Shoot. Well, I didn't realize that part. Well, so the question I was going to ask you is, I didn't know if I should try to do this myself again, which I thought was going to be easy, because I was just going to be taking the bracket off the old TV and putting it on this one, or do a TaskRabbit and have somebody do it for me.
I would not have a TaskRabbit do this for you with your whatever $1,000 TV. I made my daughter help me, because she was the strongest child that we had. She's the gymnast, and I was like, I just need you while I'm doing this to and it's still probably, I don't know, a 50-pound TV or something like that.
Yeah,
but it's not as heavy as the ones that are not flat against your television or against your wall. So I was just like, could you just help me so I can, as I'm holding it with one arm and doing this, whatever, you just make sure that it doesn't get, and so she did. So it is a 2-person thing. You have at least one son who would probably be capable of being that other person.
They'll help me. Yeah.
So it was not it wasn't terribly difficult to do. So I don't know. I mean, compared to the plasma TV that it replaced, which was 197 pounds or whatever, it was, no, that one was not mounted on the wall. because the wall would have fallen over.
So you're saying I should just mount this myself? I should just do it myself?
If you feel confident if you can hang a picture.
I mean, I mounted the first TV that's
then
there.
You should be fine. You just may have to move your mount. If your mount is placed based on the bottom of your TV, this one is it's definitely going to hang on that mount. What you saw those screw holes are for is if you wanted to put it on a stand.
Oh shoot. Okay. Well, I'm now going to Google how to mount LG G5 77-inch to the wall, and I'm going to have to find some instructions because you might want to look. It may. I cannot remember if it came with mount. Like a mount itself?
Slim. So it's a slim bracket compatible. You need a slim bracket.
Okay. Well, I'll be researching this once I'm done editing the podcast.
Well, just
the TV
to be
comes
clear,
today.
The reason you want a slim bracket is because it makes no sense to have a normal bracket with a TV that is meant to sit flush against the wall.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm concerned. Now I'm concerned.
You don't have to be concerned. Here's what you want. I'm going to send you this link.
Also, I wanted to. Is the hue gradient light strip going to fit behind it?
No, nothing's going to fit behind it.
Word.
Listen, Steven, the whole point of this TV is that it looks like it doesn't it's like sits flat against your wall, and it is going to be less than a half an inch thick off there's going to be no space between the TV and the wall, and the front of the TV is going to be less than a half of an inch off of it.
Wow.
Steven,
okay.
Hold on.
John Syracuse led me astray.
What? How did he lead you astray?
Well, I didn't tell him like what my plans were to mount this and like the hue gradient light strip and all the stuff that I wanted to put behind it. And
yeah,
so
you're not going to be, then you needed a different TV. Or you could put this one on a stand, but I'm sending you a photo. You can share this or not share this, but it just shows you what this TV is supposed to look like. It does not have any space between the TV and the wall.
I'm literally seeing a video right now of someone like putting it on the wall, and I'm realizing now I've made a grave mistake.
Well, why do you feel like you made a grave mistake? It's still an amazing television.
No, it's an amazing television, but I'm like, I need the gradient light strip is not going to work.
No, none of that stuff's going to work.
And now I need to maybe I don't do that, and I just do the video I'm watching right now, which I'll put in the show notes so people can see what I'm freaking out about. Like this person has the two hue sign floor lamps to provide the color around the TV. Yeah. That's syncing, but I didn't want to have that.
One is also off the wall though. They do not have that flush mounted. I guess you could. So the brackets.
But they actually did that. Look, they did the.
Yes, but they just don't have it pushed all the way back.
Okay, so technically I could do that.
That is also not a G series.
This is the LG G5. This is the LG G5. It says it right there. Anyway, this is terrible audio, so we're gonna.
That's true.
Jason and I are gonna go record a bonus episode because Starbucks called Jason. And they had a bone to pick, literally had a bone to pick with Jason. So we're gonna talk about that in the bonus episode. I will follow up with my TV escapades on next week's episode. On next episode of Primary Technology.
Tune in next week.
Tune in next week. To be continued. I'll let you all know how you just saw me react in real time to coming to what was happening here. So anyway. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can watch there. I'll do stuff. Support the show. Join.primarytech.fm or directly on Apple Podcasts. I'll start throwing off because I'm now freaking out about this TV choice. I'm glitching because now I'm like, I did all the wrong things. Maybe not, but we'll see. Anyway, we love your support. Appreciate it. 5-star rating and review. Let us know. Glossy or nano texture, which is the way to go. Did I get the wrong XDR? And thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.